Main Street America, the government and the media that's grown up around them are trying to tell you that they are raising interest rates to stop inflation. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to stop inflation by raising interest rates. But here's what they're not telling you. They can't stop inflation just by doing that, because that's not the only source of inflation. There's three sources of inflation, and two of them are from the government, and the third affects us on Main Street. And what they're really trying to do, and I'm going to explain why and how, is they're trying to put all the pain on Main Street to hold inflation back. While they don't change their behavior, they continue to do things that are very inflationary, and they don't want to change their behavior, but they're willing for you to suffer pain so that they can keep doing what they've been doing a little bit longer. They're not going to change, but they expect you to change and adjust your lifestyle expectations downward in what is going to be a vain effort to stop inflation. And that is what I want to explain today, so that when they tell you these things, you will know the entire story. Now, from the time the Federal Reserve was first put on the scene and started setting interest rates, 3-month Treasury notes, and all that sort of thing, into the mid-60s, they never had to raise their rate over 5%. Okay? While we had a gold standard, they never had to do that. Once we got off the gold standard by degrees, finally completely in 1973, but we went through World War I, World War II, never had to raise interest rates to the level they're at now until we started having fiat currency. We got away from honest money that holds the government accountable and in check, and before too long, they were blowing it. They were stealing the purchasing power of your dollars and giving it to their friends. It's a hidden tax. Inflation is a hidden tax, and fiat currency is the way they bring about inflation, the hidden tax. So there's three places money comes from, and too much money chasing too few goods, that's how we get inflation. Especially price inflation is when the amount of money or the supply of money increases, but there is no commensurate increase in the number of goods and services. Our productivity doesn't increase, but the amount of dollars circulating does increase. That's inflationary in terms of prices, because there are more dollars chasing the same amount of stuff, so the price of the stuff goes up. Now, three places that comes from, one of them, the one that they've decided to target, is banks loaning new money into existence by changing the price of money. That's what an interest rate is, the price of money. When they raise the interest rates to the banks raise it to you, so the price of money goes up. You thought you would buy a house, you could buy a house at a certain price. You could do that if you were borrowing money at 4%, but now that it's 7%, you can't do it anymore. The monthly payments are too high. The interest costs went up. Same thing happens to a car. Let's say you're a person that wants to start a business. Maybe you want to hire some more people. Well, there's a cost to that expansion. And when the cost was 4%, when you borrow money at 4%, it made sense to do it. At 7%, it doesn't make sense to do it. And so raising interest rates is deflationary, lowering interest rates is inflationary. And what they have done for the past few years is lower interest rates and produce inflation. So what they are doing now is trying to solve the problem that their prior policies started. They kept interest rates unnaturally low while their friends borrowed a bunch of money and bought up assets all over the world, and now inflation is starting to rear its ugly head. They said, we've got to stop this inflation. We're going to do it by raising interest rates on Main Street America. They will have to pay more for the use of money, and that'll slow everything down, and it will be disinflationary. And that is true, but it's not the only way that new money enters the system. Banks loaning money into existence, that's one way. Credit, I should say credit instead of money, enters the system and circulates more dollars and is inflationary. But there's two other ways. One of those ways is your own government spending more than it takes in. That's inflationary. It circulates more dollars. If the government prints up new bills and spends them over and above tax receipts, that's inflationary. And we're spending $1 trillion every year we don't have. So even if they raise interest rates double what they are now, it won't matter. It won't completely stop inflation. It will crush the economy. It will make our lives much harder, but it won't stop inflation, because inflation is not, money doesn't come just from banks loaning money into existence or currency into existence. It comes also from government spending more than they take in. And they're doing that, and they're going to keep doing that, and they don't want to change it. They don't want to change their behavior. They want you to change your behavior. They don't want to suffer pain. They want you to suffer pain. And so what they're trying to do is load all the costs of fighting inflation onto you while they don't change a thing. They want to keep spending. And they're gonna, and they are, and that won't change. And there's a third thing that you can do, especially when your currency is sort of like the world reserve currency, as ours is. Our currency, a lot of it is in foreign hands. And what that means is that money can flow back and forth from all these foreign accounts as well. Now, for most countries, if their currency is not held in large amounts by foreigners, this doesn't matter so much. But for ours, it does. You've got all this money, all these dollars sloshing around in these other countries. Do those foreigners in aggregate want more of our dollars or fewer of our dollars? Now, raising interest rates will make our dollar harder to get a hold of. And to some extent, it will make it more valuable. And so if their currencies are weak, that could raise the demand for dollars. But so the factor we're not taking into account is that our government is weaponizing our dollar. Okay? You don't want to borrow dollars if you have to pay them back with more expensive dollars. And so these other countries are trying to get away from the dollar. Number two, the way our government is acting, they're weaponizing the dollar. You never know when they're going to seize your dollars and cut off your accounts. And so you don't trust the dollar. Even if it's strong, because the interest rates are high, you still don't trust it because you don't trust the government managing it. They say, here's your dollars, trade with it, and then suddenly they say, you're a bad guy, we're taking your dollars and we're cutting you off. And so foreigners are getting away from the dollar. And you can look for that to accelerate as they can build ways. It used to be that country A and country B, instead of trading in each other's currencies, they would just both buy dollars and trade in dollars because they trusted the dollar. Well, the behavior of our elites, because they want to run the world so badly, and because they're weaponizing the dollar to do it, people don't trust our dollar so much anymore. They're sending the dollars back home. What is that? It's inflationary. But is our foreign policy going to change to a kinder, gentler, more humble foreign policy that doesn't try to tell everybody else what to do? No. Washington is insane and drunk with power, and they're going to continue to abuse the dollar status as the world currency until it isn't the world currency anymore, the world reserve currency. They're going to keep hammering it and using it until everybody says we don't want to play anymore. And so there are three ways that money, new currency I should say, is put into circulation, and that's where inflation comes from. Too much new currency. And our establishment is only flipping one of those switches. They're only pressing one of those pedals. The one that causes you pain, but not them pain. The two other things they must do to fight inflation is to quit spending more than they take in and quit weaponizing the dollar. They're not going to do it, folks. I'm sorry to say, look for stagflation. I thank you for listening. I'm sorry to report bad news, but I think people deserve to hear the truth from somewhere, even if it's just one man on the internet. Thank you.